What's up, everybody? Your boy Bill Tindo here. I'm going to introduce a new little segment today. I'm going to call it The Rundown. Today, I'm going to be giving you the rundown on a specific game, and this game is NCAA Football 14. Now, I am not a sports player. If I get sports games, it's usually in a bundle with other stuff that I actually wanted. And I tend to give those away. If I'm selling a console, an extra console, I'll put some sports games with it, just so people have something to play right out of the box. Or I'll trade them for something that I want. This particular game is interesting, and I did pick it up in a bundle. About 6 months ago, I was on Facebook Marketplace like I generally am, and I was looking for games, and a guy had a little tackle box with 20 PS3 games in it. And I shot him an offer of $15, and he said yes. There was one game in there that I wanted, and it was like an $8 game. And they had about 4 or 5 sports games, and I'm like, okay, this will be worth it. So, it was a good deal at the time. It equaled out to about 75 cents a game, which is fairly good. Even if I was never going to play some of those games, I was just going to give them away. Whatever. I had a couple games to add to the collection that I was interested in trying out. And most of those games have sat on my shelf. Basically just filler. I hadn't given them away yet. Hadn't done anything with them yet. And last week I was looking for something to play on PS3 because I had it hooked up in the living room. And I'm looking at the shelf and I was like, NCAA 14. Now that's definitely not the one I'm thinking of because that game is worth around $100. And it was. And I paid 75 cents for it. But there are reasons this game's worth $100. Usually, a game is worth money because of what I like to call the pyramid or the trifecta, which would be scarcity, popularity, and gameplay. If you have all three of those things, if it's a kind of scarce game, it plays really well, and it's fairly popular, then it's going to cost more money. Well, this game doesn't really check off scarcity because it sold over 1 million copies. And actually, it was considered a little bit of a letdown at the time. It was published by EA, which I don't like EA. I think they're kind of the evil empire of game development. It was published by EA, and it was obviously not the first in the series. They had been doing it since the PS2 days. And what happened was basically the one of the players was playing at his cousin's house or whatever, and his nephew asked him to play a game with him, and he's like, "You're on it." And he's like, "Oh, that's cool." And they played the game, and he's like, the kid was like 12 years old, and he's like, "You're on this game, and you didn't get paid for it." And laughed. And the guy laughed at the time, but it's Ed O'Banion, I believe his name was. And later he didn't find it very funny because what happens is it's NCAA, which means it's college football, college basketball games. NCAA is college sports. And it's not legal to pay college athletes, even for their likenesses. If the school sell jerseys on them, the kid that sells the jersey in the gift shop gets paid, but the athlete cannot get paid. It's actually illegal, and that's a crazy system to me, and I'm not going to get into that now, but he was no longer in the NCAA, yet they were still using his likeness. Now, what they did was they didn't actually have players' names. What they had was their college, their number, and they used their likeness. So their skin tone, build would all match, hair, it all matched. They just didn't use their exact name. And it started a class action lawsuit, and because he was no longer NCAA, so they no longer had rights to his likeness, but they're publishing games that they are profiting on, and he is not, and he is eligible for compensation. So it basically ended the series. EA had only pretty much just updated the roster and a couple small changes like they tend to do. Like FIFA every year. FIFA every year is the same freaking game. It's just roster changes, and they charge you $60 for a brand new game when really it's not any different than last year's. But other than that, there wasn't any real differences in the game. But EA said no, there would be a couple things that would bring the series back, which would be that the NCAA athletes agreed to not sue, that the athletes would have to be paid. The entire NCAA legal rights structure would have to be changed in order to accommodate that, and the players could never form unions. The game series is never coming back. There's always rumors that it's coming back. So it's the last game in the series, and that's why it's valuable, and the series will never be back because of litigation. From what I understand, it is the best of the series. It had relatively positive reviews. Of 77 out of 100 is the aggregate game score. Like I said, it's not a scarce game. It's around. I actually am doing this video because I have to ship this one out today. I sold it for around $100 plus shipping. I'm never going to play it. I would rather take that money to my locally owned game store and spend the money there and get stuff that I actually want to play. But people want this game, and fans of this game think it's great. I'm told it's better than Madden, even better than Madden now, 5 years later or whatever, 6 years later. Because it doesn't rely as heavily on animations as it does on actual gameplay, and the Dynasty mode is supposedly great, and I don't play all those, so I don't know. I just know all the reviews, and I've seen countless people talk about this game. In comparison, NHL 11, which I'm throwing in for free, it's another game I got in that bundle. I'm going to send that to the guy as well. This is the way of most sports games. NHL 11, I also have NHL 09. Guess what? Complete inbox, manual, everything. These games are worth $3 each. So the game's not scarce, but at the same time, it was the defining game in the series, and it was also the last one. It has great gameplay, so it checks off popularity and gameplay, so that occasionally you have rule breakers, games that become more expensive when they don't hit all 3 points. They only hit 2, and sometimes only even 1. And it's one of those. It checks off popularity and gameplay. It's popular now because they don't make the series anymore, and the gameplay is supposedly fantastic. So, that's about all I have on this game. I just wanted to talk about it for a few minutes while I did still have it in my possession. And the sad thing is, I'm absolutely certain I've given away 2 copies of this game in the past, both for Xbox 360, and I think I've just given them away. But they're going for the same thing, around $100 each. It's easy to just toss out sports games if you don't play sports games and not realize that once in a while a sports game might be worth something. It's a big part of collecting for me is, hey, I hit this mark. I found $100 game I bought for 75 cents. I go to a lot of flea markets when it's warm. Unfortunately, with the Rona going around, we don't have any flea markets popping right now, and that's very disappointing to me. I love flea markets. I love garage sales. Always get good deals there. Also, to me, a major part of game collecting, besides playing the games, is I like a good deal. That's why I like flea markets and garage sales. I'm never afraid to try to cut people's price even in half and negotiate. I always throw my offers out there. If they don't accept them, I don't take personal offense to it. But, I'm just as excited about the deal I got as I am with the game. My wife has said before she thinks I'm addicted to just getting good deals because I very much enjoy them. But that's about all I got to say. You guys have a great day. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Take it easy.